Hey, this is Matt once again. What about the other videos? The paid request is time for Sean. Thank you so much for that. And for those interested in requesting any type of videos, topics, reactions, commentaries, reviews, re-reviews, what have you, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. And this is for Tales from the Darkside, the movie. Now, for those who don't know, Tales from the Darkside, the TV show, was supposed to be Creepshow, the TV show. But George Romero could not get the rights to use the Creepshow name for a TV show, so just changed it from Tales from the Darkside. And that's one of the reasons why when the movie came out, people like Tom Savini pretty much said that's pretty much the unofficial Creepshow 3. So not the Creepshow 3 that came out years and years later with haunted hot dogs and what the fuck. This is the real Creepshow 3. If that's the case, it's even better than Creepshow 2. Because I don't mind Creepshow 2, but I do think this is better as an anthology. And there's a lot of familiar people. Steve Buscemi, Christian Slater, Deborah Harry, James Remar, Ray Don Chon, William Hitty, David Johansen, Julianne Moore. A lot of familiar faces in all three of these stories, as well as the wraparound. The wraparound is a little kid gets caught. It becomes a little bit of Hansel and Gretel without the Gretel, where this kid's jailed, and the kid's played by Matthew Lawrence, the brother of Joy Lawrence, and the witch, in this case, the crazy housewife, played by Deborah Harry from the band Blondie. She was also in Videodrome with James Woods. She's ready to cook the kid, and the kid say, wait. And decides to tell her these stories to give him some time to figure out what to do next. And so he tells these three stories. The first story is Steve Buscemi is in college, and he gets screwed over by a couple people for the scholarship. He also gets framed for a theft that he didn't do. So he takes revenge by reading the scroll, which resurrects this mummy, Lot 249, that comes back in order to take revenge. Julianne Moore is one of the two that screwed over Steve Buscemi. Of course, Julianne Moore would be in Hannibal and various other movies. Steve Buscemi worked with Reservoir Dogs in that movie, among many other films. Worked with Adam Sandler quite a bit. I mean, he was in Airheads, among many other films. Christian Slater is the brother of Julianne Moore's character. The second story is William Hickey, the old guy who was the puppet master at the beginning of the first Puppet Master movie. He was also one of the relatives in National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, who had a stogie and his hair set on fire and accidentally set the tree on fire. He hires a hitman played by David Johansen. David Johansen, he was a cab driver in Bill Murray's film Scrooged. He was in Mr. Nanny. You mock my hair? As the bad guy in that, with Hulk Hogan as the good guy. And pretty much his job is to kill a cat, which he finds ridiculous, but come to find out it is the cat from hell. And then the third story is Lover's Vow, where James Remar, the bad guy in 48 Hours, he was in The Warriors. He, at one point, is at a bar, goes out to take a leak, sees a friend of his get killed, and this gargoyle says, I won't kill you, but you can never tell anybody who I am, where I come from. He's like, okay, and makes a promise. Soon after, meets this girl, Ray Don Chon. Things are working out, but you have a feeling he is going to tell this secret, even though he shouldn't. And that's the way the stories came to be. And it wasn't like a huge hit when it came out, although it did get a Blu-ray. I think the Blu-ray has a documentary attached to it. Seems like a pretty good Blu-ray. It has the old commentary from the old DVD. I think it has a newer commentary. And again, it does have like a feature-length making of. TMB, Kurtzman, Terror and Murder, they worked on the effects. They worked on the effects for a lot of films throughout the late 80s, early 90s. Not just early, but throughout the 90s. I mean, they worked on effects for From Dusk Till Dawn. They worked on effects Evil Dead 2. The list goes on. They worked on the effects here. I believe they're interviewed. I think James Remar and Ray Don Chon, who were in the third story, Lover's Vow, they get interviewed. I think the director is John Harrison, who was a composer. They did the music for Creepshow. He gets to direct this one. I think George Romero helped work on the screenplay. And because this film didn't do that great, there was no Tales from the Darkside 2. Although, if it's halfway decent as this, I actually would not have minded a sequel. Now, the thing with anthologies is that they're only as good as, how many good stories you have. And how many bad ones. Do shit. That's why Creepshow had a pretty good batting average. I like Cat's Eye. It's one of my favorites because I really like all three. The third one, with the cat and Drew Barrymore, I warmed up a bit to. That was usually my least favorite, but I warmed up to that. But I liked all three stories. I did Cat's Eye, I think is underrated. Like Trick or Treat from 2009, that's a good one. Tales from the Hood, another good one. This is pretty solid too. I mean, like I said, the cast is fairly solid. The effects are wonderful to look at, whether it be mummies or gargoyles or some of the death scenes. Some pretty grisly effects. Watch it again. I forgot about. It's been a while since I've seen this. The stories all have their merit, and I can watch the three stories. I would say The Cat from Hell is the most fun, and the third one is definitely least the most impression, as a very tragic story. The wraparound, I really didn't give a rat's ass. Matthew Lawrence, I don't think he's that good of a kid actor. I mean, he was also in this film called Pulse. And his brother, Joey Lawrence, is the better actor. He was a star. But then Matthew Lawrence had a small supporting role and he wasn't that good. It once again shows here. I just don't think he's like that of a kid actor. And it felt more tame compared to the other stories. I mean, I get the idea the witch wants to eat the kid. But I don't know, I just... someone said it kind of reminded them of Goosebumps compared to the other Creepshow-like stories. And I just see what they're coming from. So, it is interesting to see Deborah Harry as the witch who's like a housewife and nonchalantly prepping the food to have some kid pie. But I can't say it's like a favorite wraparound story for me. The first story, it was fun just to see Steve Buscemi and Christian Slater go back and forth. I like those two actors. I mean, Christian Slater I've enjoyed ever since seeing films like Gleam of the Cube and Broken Arrow, among other movies, Cuffs. A lot of his early films I do quite enjoy. And Steve Buscemi, it was nice to see him get an early start. I mean, this is fairly young in his career. Of course, flourished to do many other things. And Steve Buscemi is the one who gets fucked over already. You definitely get the feel of this preppy school, and some of these people just follow themselves. Slater is kind of the go-between, where he's friendly with Steve Buscemi, but at the same time his sister and his friend are the ones screwing over Buscemi's character. There's definitely a bit of a sense of humor to it. The Mummy, I thought looked rather good when it gets reanimated. Not a bad looking mummy. Granted, it's the least, compared to the effects in the other two films, it's definitely, of the three, it's the least impressive, but it's still decent. And there's a couple alright, good gore gags. And some of the death scenes. Slater, he has some fun with the electric carving knife, I'll put it that way. Wasn't really big on the ending of that segment. Wasn't really big on it. I thought the wrong person got their comeuppance, as I put it, without giving it away. Before I get into spoilers, I would say the second one is pretty funny with David Johansen getting more and more pissed off at this cat as he's trying to kill it, trying to motherfucker. And yeah, some pretty good gore bits in there, a bit stomach churning. The third one is a nice, some really cool effects on the gargoyle. I love the look of it, the animatronics of it. Yes, I know it's a person in a rubber suit, but you know what? That beats CGI many, many days over. And it's still pretty impressive. And there's a certain sequence that is surprising and also very tragic. The Demon More into spoilers, like the first story, had a decent enough setup. Bushimi has his gleam in his eye as he sets his mummy to work. There's some decent shots where like Slater's going down the stairs here and the mummy's going up the stairs there, and you're wondering, are they going to meet? Are they going to be one on one? Is someone going to barely get out of the other's way? The death scenes, like the one guy gets something. Remember the old trope of the mummies that you put something scribble around, you pull the brains out of their nose. You get the thing going up the nose. You don't get it coming out of the nose. I'm a bit surprised. Maybe they couldn't get away with that with the ratings, so they didn't try. But you do see the bit of the aftermath. And then Julianne Moore gets killed, and she gets cut up, and flowers kind of put a bit into her body. That was a pretty decent effect. And I get Christian Slater's point of view. Like, his sister got killed, his buddy got killed. And I get it, they were dickheads for stealing your scholarship and framing you. I get that. Pretty much he's going to be kicked out. But on the flip side, from Trisha Slater's point of view, you murdered my sister and my best friend. I get where Slater's coming from. And I do like the scene where he's steering Buscemi with the lighter fluid and the mummies attack him, and just the way Slater just completely disembowels him without thinking about, just cuts the mummy apart. I like Christian Slater's nonchalant attitude, just cutting this bit, throwing the fireplace, cutting this bit. It was kind of fun because, yeah, if you have a mummy up close, to me the mummy's never been that scary of a villain. It just hasn't. I know that's not his point, but it almost seems like the point of, this mummy isn't scary. It's slow. You just cut it apart. You move out of the way. You dodge. You take care of it. But I wasn't really big. I mean, the pacing, because it's 3 stories, on one hand, you do have a bit more room to breathe, which is a good thing. But then sometimes you have to have the right pace tightened, and if it goes a bit too long, you can feel it. To me, it ended when it got even more interesting, and that's kind of the, man, I want to see what happened afterward. Because Slater burns the mummy's remains, burning this parchment. He thinks it's the right parchment. He's thinking of doing something to Buscemi, but he doesn't. He lets him go. He lets him live. He's not a murderer. And Steve Buscemi's laughing because he got the real parchment and brings back the sister and best friend alive to go kill Trisha Slater's character. I didn't think Slater deserved that fate. I thought usually these films is about someone getting their comeuppance. But actually, now that I'm thinking more Tales from the Crypt, to be fair. And the fact that Buscemi got away with it, and Slater turns around, there's the two, his sister and the other guy brought back to life. Which that bit almost reminded me about the scene in Creepshow with Leslie Nielsen, when the two come back and confront Leslie Nielsen. But Leslie Nielsen deserved that. And they have much more of a finality to it. I could hold my breath for a long time. Here it just kind of cuts away, and I don't mind it because of the cast and some of the effect scenes. It is my least favorite of the three, though. Just like I thought the ending just wasn't my cup of tea. The second story I did like quite a bit because of the outrageousness of it. William Hitty's an old man. He hires a hitman, David Johansen. He's like, what? You want me to kill a cat? I don't like jokes. No, it's not a joke. William Hitty explains about how there were 4 people living here. The other 3 died. We see this in kind of cool-looking, bluish colored flashbacks. That was very stylistic. And there's some impressive shots. Like there's a bit where during a flashback, someone falls down the stairs, and the body's on the stairs, and the camera kind of pulls back, and then boom, here's William Hitty, and then here's David Johansen, and then the body in the background, the light kind of goes out, and that disappears, and then we're in their scene. I thought that was a very smooth, nice transition. I thought that was a really good stylistic way to go from flashback to the present time. Like, it has scenes like that. Also, the way the camera does, like, the POV of the cat, I thought that was pretty neat to do. And William Hitty and David Johansen just giving it their all. They're just going full force. And Johansen trying to kill this cat, and just how ridiculous it gets, and it keeps cutting him, and he gets more and more pissed off and angry. Maybe it depends how you feel about David Johansen. I like him. I liked him in Scrooge. As much as Mr. Nanny's a bad movie, I liked him in it. He was funny. Some people may be annoyed by him. I thought he was rather funny. And it has a very... The cat grabs onto his face and goes into his mouth and keeps going to his mouth and going down his throat. And you see the throat cascade up and into his stomach, and the stomach grow, and the sound effects used in that. And then when William Hitty comes back to see what's going on, you see the cat just punching through the mouth, and just really cool, grisly, Canby effects. Very solid stuff. That was nicely done. And done practical. In camera for real. And that's what I mean. It still gives that factor. That visceral. You don't get a lot of that with CGI. But you do get that with practical. And yeah, once in a while you may see a little imperfection here and there. But the whole illusion still encapsulates and gives that visceral reaction. And that's what people don't realize. That even if you see a little hiccup here and there, the whole thing as it goes continuously is what sells you the illusion. CGI, to me, for a lot of times, the whole thing is one goddamn hiccup. A lot of the times. Not every single time, but a lot of the times. Just, I'm still thinking of computer. And that was, I thought, pretty fun. Maybe... I don't know, some complain about the pacing of that. It didn't bother me because, again, I thought the 2 actors were doing their jobs well. Seeing the flashbacks and how this cat killed each of these individuals was pretty humorous. The way the flash was done and stylish and the blue and how the transitions, I thought John Harrison did a pretty capable job with that. For a guy that didn't really direct much. I don't think he directed much since. I could be wrong. I'm talking about movie-wise. And they're a pretty solid story. And the third story is James Remar is a struggling artist trying to make ends meet. He's at a bar. He comes out. Someone he knows gets their hand cut off and gets stretched up to fuck, and then gets his fucking head knocked off. I forgot how gory that was. Like, oh shit. And then this just cool looking gargoyle threatens him, says, if you ever say anything about me, I'll kill you, but if you don't, I'll let you go. Cross your heart, cuts him, and he doesn't. And soon after, he meets Ray Don Chon from Commando, among many other films, Soul Man with C. Thomas Howell. and they fall in love. And right in the middle section, I get it. We're establishing their love story, and the actors do their jobs well. One of James Remore's better performances. And maybe because it's also nice because a lot of times he plays the bad guy, like in 48 Hours, or he plays. I mean, he's played a couple good guys. Quiet Cool is one. Mortal Kombat Annihilation is another. But he plays like pretty decent, sweet guy. I thought him and Radon Chan had some good chemistry with each other. The love scene, the way it's done, is stylized, and the usage of lighting, and I bought those two falling in love with each other. They had really good chemistry. I think that helps. That's sad. I saw a new film called You People. Netflix, Eddie Murphy, Jonah Hill, and the two leads had no chemistry. But here's a film from 1990 that is a B movie and had a love story that had more chemistry with each other. And you come to find out, spoilers, heavy spoilers, that one of them is a fucking gargoyle. And they have more chemistry than that film You People. Tis is sometime later, and I do wish the middle was a bit tightened up a little bit. A little bit tightened up in the middle, in the pacing. But the business is doing well. They have two kids. It's our 10th anniversary. I need to tell you something because I want to make you happy. This is a secret I've had. Tells her. She yells, "Why did you promise not to tell?" And you get this glorious transformation. People talk about American Wolf and London transformation, and maybe David Cronenberg's The Fly. This is an underrated transformation from her to this gargoyle. Coming out of her arms, her legs, ripping a piece of the head, tearing it apart. Fantastic transformation. Definitely the standout effect scene in the movie. And also more tragic because you see that the kids have been turned, and you promise not to tell. Well, stop it. I can't. And you get the idea that this creature wanted to love, wanted to have a happy ending, wanted things to go well. And sadly, because he didn't keep his promise, she's forced to do this. Now, why? I don't know. Gargoyle laws? I don't know. Maybe it's in the cartoon Gargoyles. I don't fucking know. It never explains that part. But it is what it is. You take it or you leave it. I'll take it. And he said, "I loved you," and the gargoyle goes, "I loved you too," and then takes a big chunk out of his neck, kills him. One thing I didn't notice but I liked is you see that it gently puts James Remar on the ground with a certain bit of care. I do wish there was like one more added thing where it takes the kids and maybe it turned one more time. Goodbye, my love. Goodbye, my darling. Like one final moment of the gargoyle looking back and seeing James Remar there, and one or two more sentences. Just a little bit more I would like to have seen. Just a little nitpick. I want to see one more. And then you get the idea that it goes back and it turns to stone. Again, for whatever reason, the laws of the gargoyle, those are the rules. I don't know. Just those are the rules, I guess. And then you get to the wraparound where the kid tells a story. He puts the marbles down, and Deborah Harry's looking right at him. I guess she has no other peripheral vision. Slips on the marbles. He puts her into the oven. You really don't get to see much of special effects. And he's like, "Don't you love a happy ending?" Even though really none of the stories had a happy ending. Just him. He's the only one that had a happy ending. And not that type of happy ending. That's sick. But because James Remar didn't have a happy ending. Ray Don Chon didn't have a happy ending. Christian Slayer doesn't get a happy ending. I guess technically Steve Buscemi does. David Johnson, William Hickey don't get a happy ending. Maybe the cat does. So, yeah, the kid's really the only one that gets the happy ending. But I will say, if you like anthology films, it's definitely worth the look, even though I just spoiled it all. It has some really good makeup effects. Has a pretty stellar cast. Has a really nice direction and lighting. Like, they put a bit of budget into this and a bit of finesse into this. It's a good looking movie. Yeah, Dan, if it was at all, well, Tales from the Hood is a good movie, and then look what they did with the sequels. Tales from the Hood 2 and 3. And yeah, this was better than Creepshow 2. I'll say it here. I don't mind Creepshow 2. This is way better than Creepshow 2. And I forgot how good this one was. I would put this... Because I'm like, what would be my top 5 horror anthologies? Creepshow would be on there. Cat's Eye would be on there. Trick or Treat would be on there. Cat's Eye, Creepshow, Trick or Treat. And then I'm like, well, what are the other two? Because you keep going back on other stuff. And I would say, watching this again, I would put Tales from the Darkside and Tales from the Hood for the 5 horror anthologies. I mean, I like VHS 2. If that's a horror... Well, technically that is a horror anthology, so actually... I like VHS 2 quite a bit, though. See, now I'm doing it again. What the hell goes... I don't know. I don't know how to rank them. I don't know. It's tough. But yeah, I mean, like I say, if you like anthologies, it's a pretty damn good one. I just wish the first one with the mummy... I don't know if it's either the pacing or just the ending just left me like, eh. Just like I said, the ending of the second one, you have that graphic cat coming out of the mouth and such a... And then the third one has that great transformation, that very tragic, you feel bad. The end of the first is kind of... I guess maybe to make you laugh? I don't know. It just... Steve Buscemi goes off and Slater, I don't know. Left me feeling a bit empty compared to the other two stories. Left a little bit lacking in its finale of that story. That's just me, though. I mean, if it was something like Slater always says... He said in the story, I'm always prepared. If he thought of, in case this guy screwed him over, and then you think he's gone, and then he put a trap, and he tied him down, well, you know, and he gets his electric carving knife again. After this, I'm going to have to see, I forget the character's name, but Buscemi, say Steve Buscemi. I'm going to have to visit Buscemi. And he roars up the knife, the carving knife, and you hear it, and then it ends. Like, maybe something like that would have been nice. Always be prepared. You know. Like, it'd be like a line or something. Maybe something like that maybe would have helped a bit. But overall, the direction, I wish also a better wraparound. More fun, or more gruesome, or more funny, or more whatever wraparound. But overall, yeah, pretty good. Like Tales from the Hood, looked at that wraparound and looked at Clarence Williams III. The shit, yes. Gonna show you the shit. Yeah. That's a good wraparound. Except the ending, which has some really bad effects. But with Clarence Williams III, like that was most of that was a good wraparound. Anyway, it's a good anthology if you like those type of things. With that said, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.